What's going on? Move the Mouse here, back in City Skylines with another episode of the How-To series. And for this one, we're making a return to Santa Rica. This one was built up mostly behind the idea of it being a green city before we dropped natural disasters on it in Season 3 of the Let's Play. But before it was destroyed, it was a well-functioning green city, and I want to talk about all those mechanics in today's episode. I think it makes sense to talk about things in the order that they're unlocked, so at the very first milestone, we're already presented with a few different green options in the form of the recycling center and the community school. The recycling center works very similar to a dump in that the trucks are going to leave there, pick up the garbage and bring it back, except it's processed at this building, so it doesn't build up like a dump that needs to eventually be emptied. But it does have a limit to how much it can process, so make sure that your city's processing status is in the green and you shouldn't have any problems. It does pollute and cause a bit of noise pollution, but it's not quite as bad as the dump, and a nice benefit is that where the dump can't be moved when it's full, the recycling center can, so if you want to relocate it, that is an option. The Green Cities DLC also comes with 3 green schools. Now you can still place the regular buildings in your map, but if you'd like to go green and use less water and electricity, the community school is a replacement for the elementary school, the Institute of Creative Arts is a replacement for the high school, and the Modern Technology Institute is a replacement for the university. Now it's worth noting though that although it may be tempting to turn all your buildings green, it does have a cost associated with it. So for a quick comparison, the default elementary school costs $10,000 and supports 300 students, where the community school costs $12,000 and only supports 250. It's the same if we look at the other buildings. The catch here is that each of them use less water and electricity than their counterparts, but they're more expensive to drop in the first place. But if you're going for that green city look, they're really the only way to go. Now, if you're looking for a green alternative to just dumping sewage in your map, the Eco Water Outlet is the first one that's unlocked. Later on in your playthrough, you'll unlock the water treatment plant, which costs $15,000 and can handle 160,000 cubic meters per week. A little while later, you'll unlock the Eco Water Treatment Plant, and this costs $25,000, but it does handle the same 160,000 cubic meters of water per week. Just like everything with the Green Cities DLC, they're a little bit more expensive to drop into the map, but they will reduce pollution overall and be less of a burden on the overall grid. Another green building that's available on the garbage tab is the floating garbage collector. Drop this into the water and it reduces pollution in a radius around it. Of course, it's better to just not pollute the water in the first place though, so upgrade to those eco water treatment plants when you can. There's also a few buildings that are unique to the Green Cities DLC. First is the sports hall and gymnasium. Second is the community pool, and third is the yoga garden. Consider dropping these in your residential areas as they'll provide a health benefit to the immediate area. Now, of course, it wouldn't truly be a green city without some green power options. And first up is the geothermal power plant, which I mistakenly mentioned as part of the Snowfall DLC, but it is part of Green Cities. Somebody caught that in the comments though, so thank you very much for that. It's available for $65,000. It does cause noise pollution, but does not generate any pollution on map as far as ground or water. Along the same lines is the solar updraft tower. Now this does produce noise pollution again, but no ground or water pollution. The solar updraft tower has a nice advantage over the solar power station that's part of the base game, I believe, where this needs sun to produce electricity, so at night it's not generating any. The solar updraft tower, on the other hand, has batteries that get charged, so it can still produce electricity at night. It's a very important stepping stone in my maps, and I'll usually use that as soon as it's available. I'll jump to nuclear power after that, and then once it's unlocked, the fusion monument. But again, it's a great stepping stone, and it's a green option that you can use along the way towards getting to some of those higher power options in the late end game. Like all things Green Cities, the Biofuel Bus Depot is similar to the regular bus depot, but again, it's more expensive and has a higher per week upkeep. The depot itself will use less water and electricity, and the buses do half the noise pollution. So although it doesn't affect ground or water pollution, it's worth considering again if you're really going for that green build. For each level of unique buildings 1 through 6, there's also a unique for the Green Cities DLC, and these include a bird and bee haven, a climate research station, lungs of the city, floating gardens, which need to be placed on water, the ziggurat garden, and Central Park. That last one being a pretty massive object, so you'll have to clear out some space, but I actually cleared out a lot of space in my map for Central Park, and it also houses the lungs of the city, the ziggurat garden, and Project Eden. Once you've placed all the green cities' unique buildings on the map, you'll have the option to drop in the Ultimate Recycling Center. The name tells you pretty much all you need to know about it. Where the standard recycling center can process 24,000 units of garbage per week and sends out 15 trucks, the Ultimate Recycling Plant can process 480,000 units per week and sends out 100 trucks. So if you place it just right, you can probably support all of the garbage processing needs for your entire city with just this one monument. Now, one thing I neglected to mention was some of the zoning options that you have available for both low and high density residential, low and high density commercial, as well as office space. Now, these each come with their own pros and cons, but ultimately they're really good to drop into your cities. So with residential, whether it is low or high density, they'll consume 30% less electricity, produce 30% less garbage, but generate 30% less tax income. But that less money that you make also doesn't have to go back into providing services like electricity or garbage for those buildings. The organic and local produce specialization for commercial areas produces 50% of the goods locally, which reduces truck traffic in the area by 50%. It does increase electricity consumption by 20%, but also reduces garbage production by 20%. And the IT cluster specialization for offices require 50% less workers, consumes 30% more electricity, but also generates 30% more tax revenue. Also, these are the tallest buildings in the game, so if you're looking to make a real massive downtown area, make sure and stamp down the IT cluster specialization somewhere in the heart of it, and then you can ramp down things the further out you go. It's also pretty easy to pick out where I've stamped regular residential versus green residential in this screen, because the green residential buildings use a lot less electricity and therefore are darker at night. Each of those specializations has their own aesthetic appeal, so experiment with them and see what works for your map. But hopefully that gave you some ideas on what Green Cities is all about and how to get started with it. If you've got questions, let me know in the comments down below, or better yet, follow me on Twitter or join the Discord to get involved in the discussion. If you did enjoy this video, likes, comments, and shares all help the channel a lot and are greatly appreciated. If you're new here, subscribe and consider hitting the bell to get notifications for updates in this and other series. But until the next one, this is Move the Mouse, signing off.